Hi, I'm Larry Downs, CEO of the Medical Society of New Jersey, and I'm here with Amanda Shiber, our Chief of Staff. And today we're going to discuss the claims process under the New Jersey Out-of-Network Consumer Protection, Transparency, and Cost Containment and Accountability Act. This is the part of the law where we decide how we're going to get paid if we need to submit a claim under the Act.
Right, really, what is the whole claims process?
So first, the physician bills the payer directly for the services rendered. Remember, the whole point of this act was to remove the patient where the patient received inadvertent services or emergency services. So the physician is going to deal directly with the payer and bill the payer for services rendered.
Then the payer assigns the benefits to the physician, so that means the payment for services should automatically go to the physician's office. Then the payer may choose to pay the billed amount or notify the physician that the billed amount exceeds the payer's initial allowed amount, and they have to do that within 20 days of receipt of the claim. On the payer's remittance advice to the physician, it has to say what the proposed payment amount is and list any applicable copay, coinsurance, or deductible amounts that may be owable by the patient.
The payer is then required to ensure that the patient doesn't incur any out-of-pocket costs that are greater than what the patient would have experienced had they seen an in-network physician. And the physician can't bill the patient any more than their deductible, coinsurance, and sharing amounts according to their in-network health benefits plan.
The physician also has an obligation to bill the patient for those amounts, so you can't waive any cost sharing that the patient's required to pay.
So the first element of our analysis is, did the payer allege that the billed amount exceeds the payer's initial allowed amount? So did you bill more than the payer is willing to pay? And if no, the payer should just pay the amount billed, minus any applicable patient responsibility, just as they would if they were in network. If the amount does exceed what the payer's allowed amount is, then there's a process that goes on as follows. Within 20 days of the receipt of the claim, the payer must send electronically or via certified mail a payment to the physician, which is based on the payer's initial allowed amount. And the remittance advice has to have certain elements to it.
It has to say whether the claim or that the claim is for inadvertent out-of-network treatment and the billed amount exceeds the payer's initial allowed amount. So it has to have that statement. It has to say that the payer is only paying a portion of the billed amount based on its initial allowed amount. And it has to advise the physician that he or she has 30 days from receipt of payment to notify the payer of his intent to reject that payment as payment in full.
So the next question is, did the physician reject the initial payment and initiate the negotiation process with the payer?
And I'm just going to interject right there. How to reject that payment is something that's been a question that we've been getting. So according to the guidance from the Department of Banking and Insurance, physicians may reject payment by certified mail, email, or online portal. We are being told by members that they're being asked to call a phone line and wait on hold in order to reject payment. And what we're recommending is that practices send a certified letter until an email or online portal method is available to them to reject payment instead of waiting on hold for hours at a time.
The certified letter will indicate a receipt by the payer and timestamp your process. So that's probably the best practice at this point. So if the patient or if the physician didn't reject the initial payment, then you would accept it, and the episode would be over at this point.
Right, and then we just have to follow up with the patient for cost sharing.
If you did reject the payment, the physician has 30 days from the receipt of the payment to reject the payment, as we discussed, by certified mail is our recommendation as best practice at this point. And by that, notifying the payer of your intent to negotiate for a higher payment.
Then the payer and physician have 30 days from the date of initial payment to negotiate. So this is something where we've heard from the Department of Banking and Insurance, and we're trying to clarify whether that time period is concurrent from the receipt of payment to the end of the negotiation period, if that's all the same 30 days. And right now we think that may be the case. So this guidance may change.
The next question would be, did the payer and physician agree to an amount within the specified time period? So if yes, then the payer must pay the physician the outstanding portion of the final agreed upon amount, and that's in addition to the amount previously paid. And the final payment must include a remittance advice, which states that the initial payment amount that includes the cost sharing and deductible, and the final negotiated amount, also including the patient's adjusted cost sharing. The physician should accept the payer's final offer and payment in full, and then bill the patient for any applicable cost sharing that according to their plan.
And that all has to happen within 30 days of agreement. So if there was no agreement within that 30-day negotiation time period, within 7 days of the expiration of that 30-day period, the payer has to pay the physician its final offer. And at that point, they issue a pre-arbitration remittance advice. So this remittance advice has to include specific information that the physician can then take to arbitration. So it has to have a statement that the negotiation settlement was not achieved, the amount of the initial payment, and the initial patient cost sharing. It has to have the amount of the payer's final offer with the adjusted patient cost sharing, and a statement that the patient's cost sharing will not increase after arbitration. So it's important to note at this point that the patient's cost sharing can increase during the negotiation period, because if the payer is paying more, that percentage of the patient's cost sharing can increase. But once it goes to arbitration, that is where the patient's cost sharing is limited. So if they don't agree over the final offer in that 30-day period, the physician may then go to arbitration. Actually, the payer may too, but we have a feeling that it will be mostly physicians going into the arbitration process. But arbitration may only be initiated if the difference between the final offer or the physician's initial billed amount and the payer's final offer is $1,000 or more.
So any questions that you might have, you can reach us at 609-896-1766, extension 0 will bring you to our Member Resource Center, and we're happy to provide any more guidance that we have at that time.
And don't forget to download our guidance, which is available on our website at msnj.org/OON for out of network.